With a vision to redesign the traditional work environment, Another Monday works hard to create a productive, meaningful and creative work process, one that's wholly free of repetitive, undemanding tasks in the ideal case. They're able to achieve this by applying intelligent process automation in a modern digital environment. And Another Monday COO, Arjen van Berkum, joins us today to discuss the steps. Arjen, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Now, can you tell me how you sleep at night when you take away so many jobs by automation?
Yes, well, I sleep very well at night. Let me explain that. We're called Another Monday. And the reason we're called Another Monday is because our founder found out that thank God is Friday is the most important day of the week for most people doing work. And actually, we think that's not the best way we should be spending our time. If we spend so much time on our work, why should we hate it so much? So yeah, I sleep very well because I help people get rid of the mundane jobs, of the repetitive jobs, of the boring jobs, so they can focus on what humans are truly good at: empathy, creativity, entrepreneurship, those things a machine cannot do. So yeah, I'm in the business of automation, but I'm also in the business of making the way the world works better.
Now, there's been a lot of excitement about RPA recently. What is RPA exactly, and how long has this trend been around for?
Well, RPA stands for Robotic Process Automation, and Robotic Process Automation is a way to describe work that people do on usually a desktop, which is a screen, a mouse and a keyboard, and they actually do work. So that could be in the mortgage industry, could be in plumbing, repairment systems, where you all need to do kind of administrative tasks. And sometimes these tasks are extremely repetitive and boring, or people have to type in the same number in 6 or 7 different systems, and you can have the robot do stuff for you. That's the part robotic process automation is all about, making sure that mundane tasks that are done with a desktop and a mouse and a keyboard can be done by robots so you can focus.
And what's the difference between robotic process automation and intelligent process automation?
There's a significant difference between the two. Robotic process automation is usually a bot built by a human, as in hard-coded. So there's some designer coding it. Intelligent process automation usually goes about the fact that the machine observes what humans are doing, then learns from it and builds its own bot. So it's a difference between who actually designs it. That's one part, so it has to do with the creating part. The other part in intelligent process automation has to do with how bots learn when they are doing. For instance, when you automate a process, usually you can automate 50, 60, 70%. It's called the happy path, when everything goes how it should go. Now, there's always a second happy path for the next percentage. Actually, an intelligent process automation can find those secondary happy paths on their own and actually then learn and bring your automation even further. That's the big difference.
Well, how would RPA fit into an enterprise strategy?
For me, RPA or IPA fits in 4 different elements of an enterprise strategy. It fits in the domain of the cost structure. So actually you can do things cheaper than you did them before. The second element where you find RPA back is in actually customer experience, where you can, because you can more easily find stuff, easily help clients, you can service them better, quicker, faster, and therefore it drives your net promoter score. In the third part is what we see is that it actually enhances your product leadership, because if you do RPA correctly, you can develop new products way much faster than you used to do before. So therefore you can gain product leadership. And the first part and the fourth part has to do with your employees, because you can make your employees more happy. So in the end, it drives 4 very distinct elements: people, profit, customers, and your products.
I suppose you want happy employees as well.
Yeah, you want them. You want those happy employees. If you don't have the happy employees, you're not going to make the difference, because at the end of the day, everything that's mundane will be automated, and everything that's not mundane, you need the people to do it, and then you want the people to be able to outperform. And when will people outperform? When they want to outperform, and that's not just the paycheck, it's also the fun of the job.
Well, can you tell us about the advantages of using bots, and do they have any downsides to them?
Yeah, there are definite advantages to using bots, but let me first explain a bit on what for me a bot is. For me, a bot is actually a computer that does the work a human would do. So it could be compared to a bot equals a full-time equivalent. Because sometimes a bot is a software license, so it's important to understand that. The reason and big advantage of using a bot is that you can focus. So at our biggest client, we have seen that they have made possible that the agents in their customer care center could actually spend more time with their clients because administrative tasks were taken away. So it's not just about cost cutting, that's what is the easy part. But in the end, it's much more about how can you drive customer intimacy, how can you do your product development faster. And in the end, if you look at the current labor market, people can choose where they want to work. If you make sure that you are the best place to work, which means taking out the boring stuff, people would want to work for you and you attract the best talent. So bot is much more than just a thing. It is an enabler of a total enterprise strategy where you really can do things differently.
Now, this sector has seen record capital inflows of more than $600 million, I think, this year alone. Do you think that's justified? And what are the underlying market trends?
It's for me kind of hard to say it's justified or not because I'm not working at the companies that are getting all this money. But what I do see is there's a tremendous amount of traction in the marketplace. There's a lot of companies now making the shift from talking about digital transformation to actually doing digital transformation. And especially older companies with a lot of complex legacy systems realize that RPA or IPA is one of the best ways to actually change faster. So yes, from that perspective, I believe it's justified. There's a lot of cash inflow into the market. I also believe that the market is not yet mature and needs to develop, and we need to see the next 16 to 20 months to really see what is going to happen.
So is RPA needed in an age of digital transformation? Some critics see it as just a temporary solution rather than a whole transformation.
Yeah, I think RPA is the first step in actually this transformation. But what you see is once you start doing RPA and you start making your machines more intelligent, which means understand more of all the data they get, is that they actually can bring their proactive solutions and they actually can drive different changes. So for me and for us at Another Monday, RPA is not the final step, it's the first step in a total automation journey. And the more intelligent and the more machine learning and the more analytics you can deploy on all these things these bots are doing, you actually can do much more and you will continue to do much more and you will continue to find new areas of worth. And that's probably one of the other benefits is because you gather information in a certain way, you get also the possibility to drive change further and faster.
But will there be anyone left behind in this automation journey, and how do you feel about them?
I don't think people will be left behind in the automation journey if you are willing to develop and continue to develop. I think this is one of those key areas where both employer and employee have both a social responsibility. So I don't believe that employers can only do automation and not spend time on their employees, because then you will end up with a workforce you need to lay off because they have not taken the journey. However, both of them need to be aware that this needs to happen. Both of them needs to be there, and that's part of our mission as well. As I said earlier, it's about changing the way the world works. And if you want to change it, you must make sure that you tell people what is happening so they can prepare. They need to prepare and they need to be on the lookout for new ways how to do their own jobs.
So the shift to automations really seems now to be unavoidable. How are humans able to maintain control in that situation? And are we heading towards more of a dehumanized work life?
This comes close to the topic on how people believe that artificial intelligence is going to play out. I am one of those believers that artificial intelligence is not around the corner. What we, however, do see is that because of gathering a lot of data, you can do a lot of analysis on that. So it's part that people need to be aware of that, but it also needs that people need to change. If you, for instance, look at the regulatory instances will need to understand how algorithms work. And they will need to really understand how bots work, because bots work in a different way than humans work. Their processes are designed in a different way, which means that they need to change the way they work. They need to change the way they control stuff, which actually means that these kind of staff departments will grow because they're vital in order to manage this. It means that people that actually understand the processes to the core really need to be there, because a bot is a relative stupid thing. It will do what it's told. And yes, it can be made self-learning, but it will still be a mortgage. It will be handling. It will not start opening, for instance, a savings account. So if you really want to make sure that you actually give people the right things to do, you need to make sure that you involve them in the things that are about command, about control, about creativity. So yeah, I don't believe it will take such a big flight. But if we lean back and don't do anything, people will feel this risk. And I think it's part of companies like us, our responsibility to explain that this is not an evil revolution.
So it's certainly a brave new world.
It's definitely a brave new world.
Arjen van Berkum, thank you very much for talking with us today.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.